Om Namo Narayanaya, Jai Swaminarayan, Namaste. Did you know there was an Upanishad named after an alternative grunge rock band? Just joking. Of course there isn't, unless time travel exists. No. Had to make the joke because today we're reading the Nirvana Upanishad. I probably could have made a joke about Nirvana in Buddhism, but I couldn't think of any. So instead you got grunge. I'm a child of grunge, so please excuse me. Jokes aside, let's dive into the Nirvana Upanishad. The Paramahamsa, I am he. The mendicant monks who wear marks of renunciation inwardly, they are the ones entitled to study this Upanishad. They are the protectors of the field in which I-ness, indicative of the separateness of the self, is destroyed. Their settled conclusion is partless like ether. Their heart is the river of immortal waves. Their heart is imperishable and unconditioned. Their preceptor is the realized sage, free from doubts. The divine being they adore is final beatitude. Their activity is free of family and other ties. Their knowledge is not isolated. They study and or teach the higher scripture. They constitute the Prapless monastic center. Their dedication is to reveal Brahman to a group of worthy disciples. The instruction is the non-existence of other things other than Brahman. This dedication brings joy and purification to the disciples. Their sight is like seeing the 12 suns. Discrimination of the real from the unreal is their protection. Their compassion alone is the sport. They wear the garland of bliss. In the cave of one seat is their audience of happiness, free from restrictions of yoga postures. They subsist on food not prepared specially for them. Their conduct is in consonance with the realization of the oneness of the self and Brahman. They demonstrate to disciples by their conduct that Brahman is present in all beings. True conviction is their patched garment. Non-alignment is their loincloth. Reflection of the truths of the Vedanta is their emblematic staff. The vision of Brahman as non-different from the self is their yoga cloth. Sandals, which consist in avoiding contact with the world, are their wealth. Activity for bare living is done at the behest of others. Their bondage is only in the desire to direct the Kundalini. Liberated while alive, as they are freed from denial of the highest Brahman. The oneness with Shiva is their sleep. True knowledge, by denying joy and avidya, or the Kekshari mudra, is their supreme bliss. The bliss of Brahman is free from the 3 qualities of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Brahman is realized by discrimination of the real from the unreal, and it is beyond the reach of the mind and speech. The phenomena world is impermanent as it is produced from Brahman, which alone is real. It is similar to a world seen in a dream and an elephant in the sky, that being illusory. Similarly, the cluster of things, such as the body, is perceived by a network of a multitude of delusions, and it is fancied to exist as a serpent on a rope due to the imperfect knowledge. The worship of gods named Vishnu, Brahma, and 100 others culminates in Brahman. The goad is the path. The path is not a void, only conventional. The strength of the Supreme Lord is the support to the aerial path. The yoga accomplished by truth is the monastery. The position of the gods, such as in a heaven, does not constitute its real nature. The prime source Brahman is self-realized. The ascetic should meditate on the absence of distinction based on the Gayatri through the Achapa mantra. Restraint on the mind is the patched garment. By yoga, there is the vision of the nature of everlasting bliss. Bliss is the alms that he enjoys. Residence, even in the great cemetery, is as in a pleasure garden. A solitary place is the monastery. Complete quiescence of the mind is the practice of Brahma Vidya. His movement is to Unmani state. His pure body is the propless seat of divinity. His activity is the bliss of waves of immortality. The ether of consciousness is the great established conclusion. Instruction in the emancipating mantra results in efficiency of bodily limbs and mind for possessing divine power and practicing tranquility, self-restraint, etc., and in the realization of the oneness of the so-called higher and lower self. The presiding deity of the Taraka is the everlasting bliss of non-duality. The voluntary religious observance is the restraint of the inner senses. Renouncing is the giving up of fear, delusion, sorrow, and anger. The results of renouncing is the enjoyment of bliss in the identity of the higher and lower self. Unrestrainedness is pure power. When the reality of Brahman shines in the self, there is no annihilation of the phenomenal world, which is enveloped by the power of Shiva. Similarly, the burning of the existence or non-existence of the aggregate of the causal, subtle, and gross bodies. He realizes Brahma as the prop of the ether. The auspicious fourth state is the sacred thread. The tuft too consists of that. To him the created world consists of consciousness, so also the immovable and the group of various beings. Uprooting the effect of karma is mere talk. In the cemetery, that being self-Brahman, illusion, mindness, and ego have been burnt. The realized Parivrajaka has his body intact. Meditation on the true form, which is beyond the three attributes of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Even this condition of the distinction of I am Brahman is a delusion which shall be annihilated. The burning of the attitude of passion ought to be done. The loincloth ought to be rough and tight so that the vital energy moves upward in perpetual celibacy. The unstuck mantra, the Om in the fourth state, is practiced by refraining from worldly action. Conducting himself freely as he has reached a stage which is beyond good and bad, he realizes his true nature, which is liberation. His conduct of serving primary avuta as a ship to cross the ocean of worldly life and reach the transcendent Brahman, practicing celibacy till tranquility is attained, getting instruction in the stage of a celibate student, or learning the truth in the stage of a dweller in the forest, he embraces renunciation, wherein all true knowledge is established. At the end, he becomes the form of the indivisible Brahman, the eternal, the annihilator of all doubts. This Nirvana Upanishad, the secret doctrine leading to final beatitude, shall not be imparted to one other than a disciple or a son. And thus ends this Upanishad. I have not read an Upanishad quite like that one before. We talk about monks and sages and ascetics all the time in these writings, but that's a very interesting one. I will open the floor to your thoughts now, and your bad jokes, because it comes with the territory. And, as always, thank you for watching. And for the record, I was a huge Pearl Jam fan. Sorry. I jest, don't be offended. I used to follow the guru Adidas Samraj, and he always used to talk about laughter. Laughter is great. You can't be serious all the time. Sometimes you have to laugh, and can't help but laugh at something which relates to my youth. So, we should enjoy this, because in the essence of being part of Brahman and having nirvana and having realization is not a solemn, serious affair. No, it is fun, and it is enlightening, and it is world and mind exploding. It is glorious. There is probably laughter in Vaikuntha. We shall laugh together, and we shall find realization together. And, yeah, okay, no more jokes, because I was on the verge of saying one. But thank you for watching. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Swaminarayan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.